It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's Wahoo. It's West London VR. It's race 7.5. We're on the Five-Field Circuit. This is a time trial course. It is a racing course. You can do several laps of it. It's roughly 10k, just under 10k. So over laps at the end. We'll have a quick look at the route here. You'll see this is just to the west of London, and it's a little bit undulating. It sort of starts by going downhill along this very, very straight stretch, Drift Road. Anybody in the area will know that. Then it hooks to the left and goes up this hill, and from there on it's a little bit undulating but not too tricky. Then cuts back and it goes past the start line, so it's more than one lap. At the end, you'll repeat that downhill from the start line. So that's it, 16 kilometres. It's a 10-mile time trial course, and that's what we've got in store tonight. 2 minutes before the start, let's remind ourselves of the standings. And Alistair McAlpine is being chased by Jan Van Ord, but Sam Josh just behind him, Rob Miller from the US, Grant Webb, Craig Jones. Wouter Clay is way back in 7th, has missed a race though. Yep Snaver also missed a race, unluckily, the other day. James Melville, teammate of Alistair McAlpine, in there too, and Stevie Cooper at 16th. 3 Glasgow United riders, which is why Glasgow United are top of the team's classification. Maria Vitsky from Puerto Rico is leading the ladies' fight, but that is the best of 6, so that will sort of sort itself out during the time. But West London Ladies VR, her team, well ahead in the ladies' team's competition. 1 minute 23 to go. So much to play for. We just remind you, you've probably seen the advert just before this came on live for Chase the Yellow. There's been a great big yellow thing in the sky in Britain today, and over West London in particular, that we're not used to. It's called the sun, and if you are in Britain out on your smart trainer tonight, make sure you've got the fan on, because I think it's only the hardcore riders that are turning out from Britain tonight in this sort of weather. Very, very hot by our standards indeed. I'm sure Maria Vitsky out there in Puerto Rico is much more used to this sort of climate though. So you see some of the names that are already in there: Wouter Clays, Rob Miller, Stevie Cooper, James Melville, Brett Smith in there. Who else haven't we mentioned? Jurgen van Beers, of course, from Ratio Racing. Murray from OTR also in that list. 31 seconds to the start. Just looking at the profile at the bottom of your screen, as I say, it goes downhill from the start, and it, as I say, then goes up that hill. You know, that's very straight. There's one little kink in it, but that's a kind of very, very straight race. Then you get that hook to the left, and you see the little brown section about a third of the way in the course. That's the drag uphill. Expect attacks off the front. It's undulating to the end, but nothing too difficult. I think the attacks will come just after that drag up that hill. We shall see. And they're off. And they're absolutely off. They're flying off at the beginning. And Stevie Cooper, Alistair McAlpine, up there in the Scottish Challenge in Jurgen van Beers, Wouter Clays, Jan Van Ordenhout at the front. No, it's not anymore. It's Marino Sesson, the Italian rider from ADR. He likes to stint out in the front. Strong rider. Expect him to be in the mix at the end. Sam Josh in there, I see. Richard Ackers, that's R-Reac on your screen. Carl Dickerson from South Africa, New Zealand in there. Jones from Wales again. So these are the riders you expect to see. You see several light blue jerseys in there. These are the R3R riders. Evan Oystensen from R3R in there. Now, you'll notice that some have orange helmets and some have black. They've got orange helmets on, they are one team, and if they have got black helmets on, they are on the other. The orange ones are RAR Speedwagon. I get a little wave from Evans. Nice one, thank you. Great to see you in there. Rob Miller, another one, a teammate, in fact, just making sure that Evans on his wheel there. The 2 R3R Speedwagon riders. And who else we got? Alistair. Now, there are options to switch that off. The power on the front is stretching that out. This is not a bunched peloton. People straggle off the back, and I can see in that mix there is, well, there are 2 Glasgow United riders up there. They're the ones in the red and white striped jerseys, but it is stretched. The power on the front is causing problems, and the third one didn't make the, I didn't think make the first 2 groups. Alistair McAlpine in the first group, which is Stuart Thorne in there for West London. That's great. Stuart rode TTT in a very small team last night. So well done, Stu, for getting in the mix there. I think this group now of about 17, 18, just under 20 riders have got away. So it's great if you're in this group, but I think looking at the profile, they're just coming to the bottom of the dip, and it will be the hill where I think this absolutely fragments. And if only 20 have made that first group, that is going to split even further as they go up that hill. You can see at the bottom of your screen the blue triangle followed by lots of little white triangles. Blue triangle is whoever the cameras are on. Brett Smith, 19th, just falling off the back there. Brett Smith was meant to ride the same TT. Oh, Brett's got on again. So Brett was meant to ride the same TT as Stu Thorne last night, but something went wrong on his laptop and he didn't make the start, which meant we only had three riders instead of the 4 we anticipated. Jones, the Welshman, has just fallen off that, probably not going to get back on. That's very, very hard to catch a group like that, but he's caught by, who's he caught by? Steve Bellio from the USA, from riding for OTR, and Gordon Jackson in there, also from OTR. Steve not in an OTR kit though. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it's he's got the red jersey on because he's champion of some nation or other, presumably not the USA, given the colours. Great to see Gordon Jackson up there from Lancaster in the north of England, one of our regular riders in the OTR, the familiar OTR kit of the white shirt. And they have just gone past Brett Smith, who's fallen off the front group. So the front group down to about 18 riders now. Top names in there. Richard Acker's going off the front now for the React team. He's being chased by Owen Hustonson from R3R Speedwagon. Look at the peloton behind. There seems to be two groups, one each side of the road. I mean, this is not uncommon in real-life racing. But to my mind, you would anticipate the next bend and get on the inside if you can. And people moving over. You can see everybody moving over now. Very few riders left on our right. And they all bunch over, which suggests you've got a right-hand turn coming up on the course. Now, actually, I know, because I know the course, that this is fairly straight. And there is one kink and it goes left. So I'm not clear why they've gone to the right-hand side. Richard Ackers has gone over to the left. We move back, looking Brett's dropped back into that other group with Darren Jones, Gordon Jackson, Steve Bellio, working as a little group. This will be good if they do. I'm not sure if Brett's sort of just struggling to keep on that group or not, but there's a little bit of a gap appearing. He needs to push a little bit harder at the moment, the South African Listen Slough. And he looks like he might be about to drop off that quartet because that gap is getting bigger, not smaller. Bad luck, Brett. Looking back at Marchie, Philip Levy in there, 24th position. He's ahead of Top Jimmy coming up. I don't know what Jimmy's real name is, but Top's a great name, isn't it? Top Jimmy. I'm sure he is a Top Jimmy as well. Here he is, look, all dressed in black as well. And sailing past those two. He's in the group. And that little group swelling a little bit as Marshy joins them. It's Top Jimmy. They'll be coming up, as I suggested. No idea what his real name is. It's probably Jimmy something, isn't it? Aileen Davison in 27th. She's just off that group, which is a shame. She will have her sights on winning the ladies' race today from Scotland, of course, riding from West London, riding for West London, I should say. She'd probably like to be in a group. She's 17 metres ahead of the earliest, so she's not going to sit back and wait, but I think she's a bit too far off the group in front. Maybe Bialis is going to catch her and she can get on his wheel. Murray just behind then, OTR kit. So, I mean, these three might do well to get together and work together, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Mike Murray, of course, Gilmore Summers, Harry Smith's behind him, Mark Canada, Maria Witsky, Andy Evans way back in 35th. Now, he's been having a good run recently, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. Rick van der Laan in there as well. So Andy Evans has been having some good races lately, so I think he'll probably be disappointed. I did notice one West London rider stalled a little bit at the start, and maybe that was the reason. So Andy Maria in there. Maybe Andy can help Maria out a little bit. Mark Canada in there as well, rounding off the 6 riders we have online. As I say, an absolutely sweltering day here in Britain, and I know quite a few British riders will probably just look at the weather and have decided to either ride outside or watch online. Now, the front of the race is heading towards that hill at the bottom of that hill, and I think this is where it's going to get very, very interesting. Wouter Clay's taking a turn on the front. 3, 4 R3R riders in there still. Valspace running for Moon Riders, of course. Now, there might be 4 R3R riders in there, but they're 2 from each team. So, does he have to pull it away there? Is he pulling out? He's pulled over to one side, so nobody's got his wheel. The R3R rider's pulling over towards him. It is going to be a left-hand turn onto the hill, and so maybe that's what we'll do. At the rate already 1.6. There's a little bit of a rise just before you do the turn, and then it sort of ramps up a little bit. So coming up to the turn, what are we going to see here? Richard Briack in there. Stevie Cooper's made the first group, as has Alistair McAlpine. James Melville, perhaps, the Glasgow United rider who didn't. So we sweep round this bend, and this is when the hill begins to start. I'm not going to suggest it's particularly steep. It's a bit of a drag, but it ups it a little bit from the gradient we're on at the moment. And Rob Miller attacks off the front. Now, I would expect the attacks to take place off the top of the hill. But, I'm not the one in the saddle pedalling. Rob Miller's decided to take this from the bottom of the hill, perhaps demoralise some of the other riders. Bouter Clay's leading the bunch behind. It's not over if you do lose places on this hill, particularly if you're in a bunch. But I wouldn't let Rob Miller get away too much. He's got 20 metres at the moment, grading up to 3.4%. We don't do steep hills particularly, but we do like to have hills in here to make the racing more exciting. Wouter getting challenged properly. Jan van Oudenhout is chasing up. I think Rob Miller's going to have company. So there's going to be an R3R rider, one from Speedwagon and one from R3R. Normal, alongside, in fact, I think it's probably going to be it's Alistair McAlpine. No, James Melville is in that group. I beg your pardon. So Glasgow United well represented, in fact. So that's good for them. It's a little bit true now. I mean, the first riders are off the top of the hill, and if they can tack now while others are still on the hill, they can make a gap. And you can see that gap appearing between 6th and 7th. Evan Oysterson is the 7th rider. Rob Miller in 6th. If he can just get onto that little front group, I think that group can work together and get away. You can still see the riders behind, though. It's not over yet. There's a group of 4 and a group of 2. I think the group of 4 and the group of 2 are going to merge. It looks like they are. And so we've got the 6. And then we've got the second 6, which goes back to Stevie Cooper for a big gap of 60 metres back to Carl Dixon from South Africa, New Zealand. So there's 6 and then 6. Sam Josh trying to make the juncture. So the second 6 is breaking up as people try to join the front. Marino Sesson powering away as he does, trying to keep up with Sam Josh. So the 6 is likely to become an 8, and that will leave 4 behind. And that will be difficult for the 4 behind because that will be quite a big gap. Although they're not quite making that juncture, are they? Maybe it will come back together in a way that I didn't expect. Because look at these 4. Sam Jarosz in there, Jurgen van Beurs, Evans Ostenson and Stevie Cooper have not given up the ghost. The gap behind Jarosz back to Jones is now something like, is over 130 metres. So I think we've got a group of 12. If these 3 can get on, Jarosz making sure he does. Evans and Jurgen, can they follow him or not? Jurgen's going for it here. The Ratio Racing rider in the orange cap with the black and orange kit. Meanwhile, the front 6 are not exactly a tight bunch at the moment. The front 4 certainly are. That's James Melville and Alistair McAlpine, the 2 Glasgow United riders. Also, Wouter Clay's 2-time champions of this series, and Jan van Oudenhout, who is well placed in this series and the top rider. Evans Westenson in 10th. He can see the bunches ahead of him, but that gap is getting a little bit big now, 28 metres. Jarosz just behind him. But these 3 here, even the 9s, 10s, still trying to get on and make it a cohesive peloton at the front. Passing the halfway stage, we have 8 kilometres to go from the front of the race as Jan van Oudenhout turns around that bend. It's slightly bendy, nothing too difficult, a little bit twisty if you like, but and slightly undulating, but nothing absolutely penal. So it is tough at the top. Richard Acker's up there in 4th in that group, and that's fantastic for Richard. He runs training sessions. Look out for those on RGT. He runs a number of things, including women's racing and all sorts. So look out, Richard Ackers, Riak, the RI for Richard and the AK for Ackers. Absolutely brilliant. Great to see Richard so far up. Marino Sesson has got on. So we've got a group of 6 now. but it's 80 metres back to Sam Josh, so this is a select 6. Well done, Richard, for getting in such an esteemed group. I mean, that was fantastic. Delighted for you. It's absolutely brilliant. So, Stevie Cooper, not probably too worried in the sense that his main teammate, Alistair McAlpine, is in the front group, so that's okay. I mean, obviously, he'd like to be further up. Rob Miller, Sam Josh, probably a little bit upset that they've got left behind. Evan Oystenson and Jurgen van Beers there. Yeah, you can see the group in front, but everybody's put under pressure. Nobody's particularly working together in this, but there's a massive gap from 12 back to Carl Jones in 13th with Jurgen van Beers and others in that group. James Melville now taking the turn on the top. So we have 1, 2. I'm just trying to think here. We've got 2 Glasgow United riders, haven't we? We've got 1 Moon Riders in Wouter Clays. We've got 1 R3R, 1 ADR, and 1 REAC. So Glasgow United be quite pleased with this because they lead the team's competition, and they, by having 2 in the top 6, which I think is likely now. If you look at the gap, it's 140 metres back, and the winner is going to come from this group. But I think Glasgow United, if they get the 2 in the top 6, their hold on the team's competition is going to just get tighter and tighter. Wouter Clay is showing what a true champion he is now, out on the front. I wonder what's happening further back and in the ladies' race. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see the course is quite strewn out now. The little white triangles on the profile are obviously riders at the back. I'm guessing the red one's somebody who's stalled. So here we are. This is the group behind, and who have we got? Rudell, Gordon Jackson in there, Jones, Ian Holton, Stuart Thorne in there. He was in the front group earlier on, but I think he'll be okay with the group he's in. Making sure that he's tucked in. Does a lot of time trialling on RGT, so he knows what he's doing. Philip Levy in 22nd place now, out soloing. Mark Murray and OTR Colours at 23rd. March at 24th, Brett Smith at 25th, once up with the front group, but all the way back in 25th now, and Walker now in 26th. But there's Eileen Davidson, and she did get, in fact, onto Bialis' wheel. If you remember earlier when we were watching, Bialis was just behind her, and she's let him get in front and sat on the wheel. Very canny up there in the northern part of Scotland, on the northeast, if I remember rightly. Absolutely fantastic. And she's got 140 metres on anybody behind her, which looks like a good placing. She'd be delighted with that. Gilmore just behind. Top Jimmy will be the next rider, and he's out solo as well. I mean, you can see Gilmore in front of him. Summers again, out solo again for 87 metres to Andy Evans, who I think had a tricky start. Not 100% certain, but I think Andy got a tricky start because I know he's riding well at the moment. Harry Smits, one of our favourite riders, picking up my spelling mistakes this week. He was. Mark Canada in 34th. Rick van der Laan is in 35th. Maria Witsky, and one of our absolute favourites, and she's just going to coast home. I think she's just enjoying it, isn't she? She will be happy wherever she finishes. I know she wanted to ride with Jessica Wright today, and Jessica Wright went to log on just before the start, and Wahoo RGT started doing a load of updates, and she didn't make the start. So Maria hasn't got a teammate to talk to, but I think she's just going to go round and enjoy the ride. Taking another quick look at what the route looked like here. Remember, the start was downhill. We went along that straight. Then we yanked to the left there, up that hill. Now we're doing the sort of slightly twisty and undulating bit. Then we turn left again, head back past the start line, and there's that sort of kind of slightly downhill finish, between the start and the end where we actually began the race. So that's what we've got to do. They've got 4.2 kilometres left, and you can see on the profile at the bottom that it is a downhill finish. James Melville now pushing out, testing everybody else. Wouter Clay's making sure that James knows knows that he's around. The two R3R, it's not two R3R riders, one's Richard Riak and one's Jan van Aardenhout, alongside Marino Sesson and, who was the other rider? I can't remember now. James Melville, of course, wasn't it? James Melville, or Alistair McAlpine, of course. Alistair McAlpine, series leader. So, what's going to happen? I think these six are going to work together effectively now. I mean, I think people will push out and do little jabs on the front. James Melville is known for doing that. Don't think Alistair McAlpine might. Marino might. I doubt if Richard will. Wouter Claes is probably the sort of canny, experienced rider that he will have a tactic and it won't necessarily be what you predict. So Wouter knows what he's doing. He's very calculated, very intelligent chap. And I would hesitate before predicting Wouter's moves. James, I think, will have a push at the front. Alistair will probably try and settle just to get a good placing. Alistair very unlucky in the last race, of course. Just couldn't quite hang on at the finishing line and was just beaten. But I don't think that will that bothered him too much. I did speak to him by on social media afterwards, and he seemed in good cheer because second place was certainly consolidating his position at the top of the general classification. So I'm delighted that Richard's hanging on here. This is absolutely brilliant. Richard's not usually up in the front batches, so this will be great for him. He's a good rider, and anything in the top six in a race like this, I think I'll be very pleased for him. I mean, he might sort of say that he expected nothing less, but I because he is a strong rider anyway. But I'm delighted because he quite often sort of kind of misses a cut here and there and ends up in Group 2. But to stay in Group 1 this long, just 2.8 kilometres to go, the race hotting up. As I said, James Melville typically going off the front. Wouter Claes, I say I don't predict what he does, but he does typically chase people down and make sure that things don't get away because he watches the situation. Marino Sesson drifting off the back a little bit, but he can do a little powerful catch-up. He's kind of known for it. Jan van I think, will not suffer either. So I don't think anybody in this ride is going to suffer too much. It might be the case, though, that in the final kilometre, when people do push, some people just realise they haven't got the legs and let the others go. But we'll have to see how that plays out. At the moment, nobody is letting anybody go. Richard Riak, Jan van Aardenhout, Marino Sesson, Alistair McAlpine, Wouter Claes, and of course Jim Melville. So Glasgow Dumbarton crowd. Now that's stretching a little bit. That's Wouter putting a little bit of pressure on the front. He does do that. I think Alistair and I think most of those will probably go with him. Marino perhaps drifting off the back a little bit, which does kind of surprise me, but no, pushing back. He's back on. It hasn't got anywhere. The two Glasgow United riders going off the front. Are they working together? It's not unknown for teams to be in contact here over social media, probably Discord or something like that. You can actually use the RGT radio, of course, but it hasn't really worked. Or at least they haven't shaken off Wouter Claes. But it might have worked for the three of them. They might have won Glasgow United the race, but it might secure two podium positions because they have cast a gap. Marino Sesson, he always has this little kick at the end. I think he saves something for it. So I think Marino's not going to let it go. One of the Glasgow riders drifting off, but which one is it? It's Wouter Claes and Jim Melville. Off the front, the three back together again. Marino hasn't quite made the gap. Can he do it? He gets out of the saddle. You can see him pushing. He's getting caught by Jan Vanna, who looks slightly stronger than Marino at this moment. 1.3 kilometres to go. Jan is going to get up to the front three, and I think Marino will sit on his wheel and do the same. That leaves Richard behind now, 40 metres behind, but I think Richard will be delighted with that. If he can just keep his momentum, he's guaranteed a sixth place, which would be fantastic. So good luck. Marino's still quite not on the group. We go under the Flamme Rouge, 1 kilometre to go. Can Marino do it? He has got power. He can push out a lot of watts. He's got back on, but there's a split up the front at the same time. And split up the front is Jim Melville and Wouter Claes. I would probably fancy Wouter to win a sprint, but Alistair McAlpine is back in the mix. 800 metres to go. And is Alistair going to get on the back, or is he just going to sit on the wheel? I think Wouter's just letting James go on the front because I think Wouter's just planning a a last-minute sprint. Oh, maybe not. He's going round now. Going a bit earlier than I would expect. He can do a long sprint, no doubt. Alistair McAlpine just fighting to stay on board, but he's probably not going to make up the gap now. I think he's hanging on a little bit, although he's getting close to the wheel. James Melville now on the wheel. In fact, Alistair's right back up with Wouter, sitting on Wouter's wheel. Can they let him do the work and then sprint past him? I would probably put my money on Wouter. Wouter's going early. He's done this before. James Melville goes to follow. Alistair McAlpine's probably not going to make that, although he's out of the saddle. I think they've let Wouter get too much of a head start on them. 150 metres to go. They're not going to make that up. It's a clear win by Wouter. But look at that, second and third for Glasgow United. Great win from Wouter Clays. We've seen him do this before. We know he can do it. Superb rider. Alistair, I'm not sure if he got second out of that. Looks like Alistair McAlpine might have done. Jan van Aert getting third. Marino having to settle for fifth, and I thought he might catch up and challenge it. But what a great result for Richard Dackers, our REAC here. Sam Josh is looking like it. Well done, Richard. Watch him go to the line. Sam Josh coming in seventh. Stevie Cooper. So that's three Glasgow United riders in the top eight, and if he can get past Sam Josh, we'll be the top seven. But Rob Miller's having none of that. It could be top 9 now because Rob Miller goes sailing through for the USA in R3R. Rob Miller spoiling Stevie Cooper's placings, and he has to settle for 9th. Jurgen van Beurs, Ratio Racing, coming in 10th. Ratio, one of the long-standing best clubs in the series, in fact, across Wahoo RGT altogether. James Melville and Alistair McAlpine. I think Alistair just pinching it on the line there. Interesting. Jan van Aert just coming in fourth. 10th, Jurgen van Beurs, as we've seen, Ratio Racing. 11th, Cole Jones, all in white. Oh, we've got a bit of a sprint here coming, have we? Who's this? Oh, no, these people already crossed the line. Ingmar van Beurs is their brothers, actually. So we've got a good sprint looking like it might happen there. Paul Poodle in there. Gordon Jackson, Holton, Stuart Thorne, and who else? Just trying to see who else is in there. No, I think I've said everybody, haven't I? Holton is pulling away. Stuart Thorne not contesting. Or maybe he is, actually. Stuart going past Paul Poodle. Two OTR riders there. Gordon Jackson, the other one. Can Stu pass Gordon Jackson from Lancaster? He's going for it. What he has done is pass Stevie Cooper. Paul Poodle, though, is probably going to nick it off Stuart, or is he? I think Stuart just got that, didn't he? I think Stuart, well done, Stu. Especially after riding last night as well. Jones now coming in 20th. We should check that. Stuart Thorne just beating Gordon Jackson. We'll check that on the results later. They will be coming up on screen as Jones takes 20th position. Sam Yarosh from the USA is taking a clean 21st, 360 metres back to Philip Levy. So he can enjoy himself, take the applause of the Avatar crowd and cross the line with aplomb. Well done. Philip Levy, 22nd in the blue there. Now he's got 500 metres on Murray, so he again can just soak up the applause as he wheels across the line. Great racing though, and Murray. In fact, the next rider, Murray, is also going to be able to coast across. But then we might have a little battle between Marshy and Walker. Let's see what happens. Well done, Philip Levy and Marshy there. No, on the Murray, sorry. On the OTR riders in 23rd. Got 500 metres to go, so this isn't the finishing line crowd, this is the slightly earlier one. Some of the results coming up now. Wouter Clays, as we know, the winner. Alistair McAlpine, James Mill making it a 2-3 for Glasgow United. Jan van Oudenarde, 4th, Marino Sesson, the Italian, 5th, Richard Ackers, 6th, Rob Miller, 7th for R3R, Sam Josh, Steve Cooper making 9th. So that's 3 in the top 9 for Glasgow United. They're doing really well. Jurgen van Beurs, 10th. Craig Jones, 11th. Cole Dickerson from New Zealand, the South African New Zealand team. Ingmar van Beurs, the Van Beurs brothers, both racing tonight. Well done, Murray. And Marshy is the next rider we're going to watch roll in with 200 metres to go. Back to the results. Evan Oystenson out the front for R3R early on, but settling for 14th in the end. Oh, a bit of a race here. Look at Walker go. And the Scotsman is going to nick that on the line. I don't know, actually. That was very, very close, wasn't it? That was very, very close. Anyway, go back to the results. Eileen Davidson now. Oh, she's not with Bialis anymore. So she's got ahead of Bialis, and she takes that place from Gilmore. Brett Smith, another West London rider, coming in, and Bialis now coming in. So Eileen got ahead and finished a very, very creditable 26th. So she'll be pleased with that. Top Jimmy coming in next. Eileen Davison, of course, the winner of the women's race today. Summers from Ireland now in green, of course. And why not? Why wouldn't you? Jay Summers. I think it's got, 700 metres to go. And that'll be quite good. She'll get second place in the ladies' race, Jeannie Summers. Great. I don't think she's ridden yet. It's a best of 6, so we're only on race 7.5. There's 8 to go, so she's if she's going to get lots and lots of points today, then why not come and do some more, Jeannie? You could win this. Eileen Davison's certainly got her eyes on the prize. 2 wins so far, but hasn't done too many races. And so that's interesting. Go back to the results. Stu Thorne was just behind Paul Prudel, but beat Gordon Jackson in that sprint. Ingvar Holton, as we saw, 18th. Stephen Bellio ending up 19th. Darren Jones, 20th. Scott Yerosh, I keep calling him Sam Yerosh, I do beg your pardon. 21st. Philip Levy, 22nd. Mike Murray, 23rd. Al Marchi, 24th. Andrew Walker, 25th. As you watch Jeannie Summers crossing the line in green for Ireland, of course. Andy Evans, 32nd. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed. He's been riding really, really well recently, as I said. But I have to say, somebody in a West London kit got a slow start. So I think it was Andy. And that's probably meant he's got in, missed some of the best groups. Eileen Davidson at 26th wins the women's race as we watch Andy Evans cross the line. Robert Gilmore, Brett Smith for West London at 28th. Paul Bialis at 29th, as we saw. Top Jimmy next. Rick van der Laan and Harry Smits now. This is the Netherlands derby. I think Rick van der Laan pulling ahead. I think Harry's maybe not going to contest that. But with 350 metres to go, oh, maybe he is. Look, Harry's getting out of the saddle. He's a character, is Harry. Harry's pulling past Rick van der Laan. I think Harry might be going for this one. There's 200 metres to go, so it's not over yet. Harry gets out of the saddle again. Rick's not responding. I think Harry's just getting himself an extra point in the championship. And he deserves it for picking up on my spelling mistakes this week. Or my typing errors, shall we say. Rick van der Laan having to settle... watching his fellow countryman cross the line. Mark van Canada, 35th, is going to take 35th position. Maria Vitsky in 36th. So, recap of the top 10, looking at the times, and you can see that Wouter Kleijs in first was a full 10 seconds ahead of 10th place Jurgen van Beurs. But interestingly, he gained 22.49, 2 seconds on both Alison McAlpine and James Melville, which is quite a lot. They got about 4 seconds on Jan Vanner. Marino Sesson from Italy, Team DR. Fifth, Richard Ackers, that fantastic result in 6th. Then there was a big gap back to Rob Miller, who stormed past Sam Josh and Stevie Cooper to deny them 8th and 9th place and take it for himself and the USA. Jurgen van Beurs in 10th, the first of the Van Beurs brothers, Ingmar coming in a little bit later on. Going back, I assume that Rudovitsky is still to cross the line, and so is Canada actually, 800 metres to go. He's 600 metres ahead of Maria, so that puts Maria about 1.4 kilometres to go. So we do like to watch the last finisher. 36 out there in this heat wave. Fantastic turnout once again. Thank you everybody for your support. This series really is amazing, and it's amazing because of the people who are riding it, of course, and we value every single one of them, which is why we like to stay on and watch the riders towards the rear enjoy themselves crossing the line in this race. And thank you RGT for kitting it out with all the graphics and putting it on the whole platform for us. Free to race, of course. You can't argue with that, can you? Just 460 metres, and then Mark Canada to finish, and Maria Vitsky, as I said, still 600 metres behind him. riding in red, white and black, red and white colours of Canada, of course, as it's from the Canadian maple leaf flag above his name. The scenery here, I'm not sure how it gets themed, but I would say this is quite, Northern Hemisphere, quite universal sort of scenery that, has deciduous trees, perhaps, sort of kind of the middle strata of Northern Europe, I guess. And North America as well, the Northern Hemisphere. So there, Canada crosses the line and goes through all the advertising hoardings, which includes advertising for ZMS, who produced this programme for us. And don't forget the big one coming up in July, Chase the Yellow. Look, here we are. Big wave from the ZMS studio. Thank you, Damon. Excellent production as ever. Perhaps you give us a little preview of Chase the Yellow in a minute. Well, should we watch Maria come home? Maria gives it a wave. Chase the Yellow on Wahoo RGT. We can see Maria on the left-hand side at the same time. Now, this has got 9 stages. It's taking place during July. It's all connected with the Tour de France. So it's based on Tour de France sites. You don't have to, stages. You don't have to do the whole stage. You can see that these are about, maybe sort of 20 kilometres long each. This one's 50 kilometres, this Tucson's one. They are great courses, and they're designed so that you can do them in an evening on a smart trainer. And I think it's going to be an absolute thriller. Look at that. You've had Alpe d'Huez and Mont Ventoux in it. So if you like a bit of climbing, get yourself signed up for it. 9 line races. I think they're tying in with the Danish riders. Maria crosses the line, fantastic. Gives it a little wave. Well done, Maria. Puerto Rico can be proud as she gains more points and leads the ladies series, I think, at the moment. So there's the replay. Look at that sprint from Wouter. James Melville tries to respond, but in vain. Wouter just powering away. We've seen him do it before. James putting everything into that, but Wouter's not letting it happen. And the gap just gets absolutely massive. A couple of seconds in the end. And to beat Melville and McAlpine by 2 seconds is quite heroic. Look at Alistair McAlpine nicking that extra point on the line from his teammate. I don't think James will complain too much because we know that Alistair is going for the general classification and currently leads it. And, if your teammate needs that extra point, why wouldn't you? Although I don't think James was consciously letting him pass. I think it was a well-earned point by Alistair. Well done, everybody. Great congratulations to Richard Riak. I'm very pleased for you, Richard, for that result tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being involved, especially ZMS for putting this on for us. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time on Wahoo RGT. We've got a nice little tricky bendy course for you next time. Never been done before. South Ruislip Steer. But look out for that one. That will be quite an interesting one, particularly in the days of steering on Wahoo RGT, because I think those who steer might have an advantage in the next one. Let's see, shall we? We try to keep it exciting. We try to vary the courses, and we try to keep you entertained with the help of ZMS. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.